When we think of the theory of evolution, one name almost always comes to mind: Charles Darwin. Darwin's groundbreaking work on the origin of species changed the way humanity understood life itself. But today, we're not focusing on Darwin. Instead, we're shining a light on the man often overshadowed by him: Alfred Russel Wallace, the co-discoverer of the theory of evolution by natural selection. Wallace's story is one of passion, adventure, and groundbreaking science. Born in 1823 in Wales, Wallace had a humble background compared to Darwin's privileged upbringing. While Darwin attended Cambridge University, Wallace was largely self-taught, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the natural world. By the mid-19th century, the world of natural science was beginning to understand the diversity of life in new and exciting ways. Wallace embarked on ambitious expeditions to South America and Southeast Asia, cataloging thousands of species of plants, insects, and animals. In the dense jungles and remote islands, he uncovered the clues that would lead him to one of the most profound discoveries in science. Wallace's travels in the Malay Archipelago were particularly fruitful. Here, he observed what we now call Wallace's Line, a biogeographical boundary that separates the distinct animal species of Asia from those of Australasia. This line runs between the islands of Bali and Lombok, and between Borneo and Sulawesi. Wallace noticed that species on either side of the line were strikingly different, despite the proximity of the islands. This observation was pivotal in demonstrating the role of geographical barriers in shaping the distribution of species. The significance of Wallace's Line lies in its demonstration of geographical isolation, a key driver of evolution and speciation. When populations of the same species are separated by physical barriers like oceans, mountains, or vast distances, they are unable to interbreed. Over time, these isolated populations adapt to their unique environments, leading to the emergence of new species. Wallace's observations provided some of the earliest evidence for this process in action. At the same time, Charles Darwin was quietly working on his own theory of natural selection back in England. Darwin had arrived at his ideas during the famous voyage of the HMS Beagle, which took him to the Galapagos Islands in the 1830s. There, he studied finches and tortoises, noticing variations that hinted at the mechanism of evolution. But Darwin hesitated to publish his findings. He spent over 2 decades refining his ideas. In 1858, while suffering from malaria in the Malay Archipelago, Wallace independently arrived at the concept of natural selection. He penned an essay outlining his theory and sent it to Darwin, unaware of Darwin's long-standing work on the same subject. Darwin, upon receiving Wallace's letter, was shaken. Here was another scientist who had reached the same conclusion, potentially beating him to publication. To resolve this delicate situation, Darwin's colleagues arranged a joint presentation at the Linnean Society in London. Both Darwin's and Wallace's findings were presented together, marking the first public unveiling of the theory of natural selection. But history has an odd way of choosing its heroes. While Darwin published the following year to great acclaim, Wallace's contributions faded into relative obscurity. This isn't to say Wallace's life was without recognition. He became a respected figure in his time, pioneering fields like biogeography and conservation. Wallace was also deeply philosophical, delving into the social implications of evolution and even exploring spiritualism in his later years. Still, his name is often left out of the story when we teach evolution in schools. So why is Wallace less celebrated? Part of the answer lies in timing and privilege. Darwin's wealth and connections allowed him to cultivate his ideas over decades and publish them in a polished, widely read book. Wallace, on the other hand, spent much of his life exploring remote regions and living modestly. Additionally, Wallace himself never sought the spotlight, often deferring credit to Darwin. In recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in Alfred Russel Wallace. Many scientists now recognize his vital contributions to evolutionary biology and his role as one of the greatest naturalists of all time. Wallace's story reminds us that the journey of scientific discovery is rarely the work of a single person. It's a tapestry woven from the contributions of many, each building on the insights of others. And while Darwin's name may be the one etched in history books, Wallace's legacy is just as vital to our understanding of life's grand design. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to keep these untold stories alive. Subscribe to Science Curious.